You know, it's almost like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. Welcome back to the channel, it's awesome that you're tuning in. So recently I picked up this very cheap mini PC, and the reason is because I'm always searching a very cool budget way to play or emulate stuff. And this mini PC, I think that basically checks a lot of boxes. This mini PC is maybe a little bit more expensive than the Super Console X Android box, but what you're actually going to get is way more value for your money. The model is the GK3 Pro, comes with a Jester Lake and 5105 CPU, RAM 8GB and 128GB of built-in memory. Then we have Wi-Fi capabilities on 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz, but it also supports a 2.5-inch hard drive up to 2 TB. Like I already mentioned before, is this thing is not very expensive, and when you're looking at the overall performance, it's going to be very surprising, especially when you're looking at other models and other options. Of course, you can buy yourself a very expensive AMD Ryzen and has amazing performance. But what I do like to do sometimes, just to find the cheap ones and just to see how much we can get out of it. The case itself is nothing very fancy, it's similar to the other one. Inside we're going to get more stuff, and that also includes the power supply, HDMI cable, a bracket for basically putting it behind the monitor, the needed screws, and of course the manual itself. That's some basic explanation. Like I already mentioned before, it's this is just some basic casing, like most made out of plastic. But of course not everything is super bad, of course you get what you're paying for. At the front we're going to get ourselves the on and off switch over here, we're going to get two USB 3.0 ports and a USB 2.0. At the side we're going to get two HDMI connection, another USB, the input for the power, and headphone jack out. And on the other side we're going to get ourselves a VGA connection. The next thing that we're going to do is removing the tiny Parker over here next to the switch, because now we can open up the latch at the top. Okay, so opening up gives us the option to basically add a hard drive over here. So let's talk about it, what are we going to do today and what can we able to do with it, because I think we can make absolutely great emulation beats out of this thing. So when it comes using Bodacera, there are different ways to go. So if you want to use a certain piece of hardware, you can use it 4 different ways in my opinion. Then we're going to get ourselves the very convenient and really cool thing is an SSD. You can basically put an SSD inside your PC, install some Bodacera on this bad boy, and you get to have a lot of fun. The main problem at the moment when making this video, SSDs are very expensive. Another option that we're going to get, and this is way cheaper, we can get yourself a 2.5-inch platter disc. These things are not very expensive, and yeah, if you're going to load up, you have a lot of space for not a lot of money. Another plug and play solution, if you just want to have Bodacera like a plug and play, you can use basically a very easy plug and play SanDisk or another brand. You need to have a very fast port in combination with very fast thumb drive. You can use this little Bodacera plug and play. And of course, the last but not least, and the cheap edition is basically get yourself a 3.5-inch. But if you cannot assemble it, what you need to do is also get yourself an external enclosure, because you basically use an external enclosure in combination with Bodacera and USB. So get yourself a Super Console X hard drive. What you're going to get is basically a 2.5-inch hard drive. Yeah, you're going to get a case and you're going to get yourself, a preset Bodacera. So all you need to do is add in your files. Another way you can go is the PokePad. And the PokePad is basically an all-in-one solution. So if you don't want to do a lot of searching for controllers, stuff like that, what you're going to get is this very nice fancy case. And inside you're going to get instruction, how you need to configure everything, how Bodacera works. So there are some stuff that have been done. You're going to get yourself 2 wireless controllers. I think there are different models out there. And this is the more expensive places to knockoffs. They're not the best controllers, but these are not bad at all. It comes with including 2 2.4 GHz dongles. Then we're going to get ourselves the enclosure with the hard drive. So basically you can just plug in the PokePad with the controller, add your stuff, and you can go your way. And not to forget the fancy casing. Yeah. So this is what you're going to get with the PokePad. So basically in combination with the Super Console X stuff, this is what you can do with this. But this machine has the option to add an internal hard drive. So what is the very positive thing about internal hard drives? You're going to get the maximum speed, depending of course of the SATA connection. Take into consideration, especially when you're using really old hardware. So most of the time, a hard drive will be fast enough. This is in Western Digital Blue. There are different speeds out there. Take consideration, you have like 5,400, you have 7,200, if I'm saying it correctly when it comes to the speed. But nevertheless, you're going to get the maximum speed if you're going to get yourself a fast half drive. So it's going to be more convenient when you're basically like loading up your files. Yeah, and the SSD is the same story. These things are like super expensive sometimes, especially when you're going to get 1 or 2 terabytes and there are like different speeds. But if, yeah, of course, if the SATA drive can handle the speeds, you will have like significant faster load times. But there is another thing you can consider. But let's say your old PC only has USB 2.0 and you can boot your hard drive inside. I would recommend doing this because it will give you so much more advantage to the speed. But this device has the USB 3.0. 3.0 is a very fast way and like absolutely crazy. So if you want to use, let's say, a Pauky pad, this is like a super good solution, or plug in your USB dongle. Yeah, and also like this is a very tiny one. This thing gets really hot, but also different speeds we have here. And what you can do is like plug it in. You can just basically pull it out if you want to use your PC as a PC. So like there's things you need to consider which direction you want to go, but there are a lot of different ways to go. But if you're going to be like making an, let's say, emulation beast out of it, I recommend like putting the drives you're using with Batocera. Normally it has been set to the Windows boot, but if you want to use, let's say, Batocera for the main boot, you need to set it to the first boot over here. In my case, a 2 terabyte drive, and that's it. The next thing you need to do is set the secure boot to off if it doesn't boot up into a Batocera. That can also be like a little bit of a problem. So yeah, you need to disable this. Normally it's always being enabled, but disable it for like having the boot up with Batocera in general. So when everything goes like it should be, it will boot up into Batocera without any hassle. But when it comes to Batocera and what can we able to play, it's more like how much power we're having. And what I like about this new kind of generation of chipset, they're like dirty cheap to buy compared with other AMD or devices. But I just wanted to see what can we actually play for our money. So particularly I'm going to like focus on the like higher end stuff. Think about PlayStation 2, 3, GameCube, stuff like that. But also try some other two-dimensional stuff for fun, just to see how far we can push it. The first and the cool addition we're having is MAME Tekken and also Killer Instinct. We have the option now finally to play it with these even cheaper devices compared with a Batocera and an Emulation or the Android boxes. We had with the Android box some emulation problems and also like limitation that we don't have with the cheap mini PC like this. Panasonic 3DO has absolutely a lot of hidden gem games. This game returned fire. I tested it out on the Emulation boxes or the cheap Android boxes, but all have like issues when it comes to frame rate and also audio. And with this system we don't have any problems at all, and I think it's pretty damn cool to see that actually we can play a lot of games of the 3DO. Another system is the Atari Jaguar, a very cool system with a lot of like cool hidden gems on it. We couldn't play it very well on the Emulation, but also with a cheap, let's say, mini PC with Batocera, we are able to play this. I think it's a pretty cool addition. Then of course we have the semi-autonomous wave, and this was a system that also didn't run great on a lot of these, I'd say, Android boxes, and with the mini PC, also here we're going to get a way better performance. Let's move into the Sega Saturn and even like upscaling it to 1080p with the Yaba Shenshiro emulator, and where we have like so many, let's say, mixed performance with Android boxes. Also here with the Batocera image in combination with this new Intel mini PC, we have so much better performance. So far I have played the game, it's going to be having a stable 60 FPS on 1080p resolution. With Sega Dreamcast I want to go a little bit more crazier, so with Sega Dreamcast we're going to try out Dead or Alive 2 as a benchmark game, and we're even going to upscale it to 4 times the resolution with Flycast today. PlayStation emulation is absolutely not a problem when it comes to these mini PCs. We can also play it on, let's say, cheaper Android boxes. But particularly with these PCs, we can just upscale it to a better resolution or eternal resolution, so everything looks way better. What I think is a very cool addition is we can finally play some PlayStation 2. You do see sometimes we have like some dips in the frame rate, depending on what kind of game you're playing and what kind of moment. But in overall, the performance was absolutely not bad at all when it comes to this game.
Drop your weapon! NYPD, freeze! What were you thinking? Back off! Thank you. Okay.
Moving on to the PlayStation 3, and I can tell you, like, it's even a miracle that we can even play a couple of games, but the loading times are absolutely ridiculous long, especially when you're looking at the compiling shader moment. But also when being in the game itself, the overall performance, even with two-dimensional games, is not great. And you can see, like, this chip is not powerful enough to emulate PlayStation 3. Where we had so many troubles with these cheap Android boxes, with the mini PC you can even like upscale it without any problem. And I think this mini PC is a very cool addition if you want to play some PlayStation 2. Of course, let's play a little bit of a God of War, because this is like the ultimate benchmark for this. So next up, let's try some Nintendo 64, and I know a lot of people were asking about this in my previous videos. And when it comes to even this cheap mini box, we're having so much better performance. You will see a dip down with some certain games. Of course, you can always mess around with the emulator to see what kind of game you're going to get like better performance with what emulator. But the overall performance and experience is so much better than like cheap Android boxes. The downside, I've noticed that some of the games of GameCube will struggle in the FPS. It's not to the point that it is unplayable, but it is noticeable.
Imbeciles! Fools! Nincompoops! Can't you idiots do anything right?
Another great addition is the 3DS. The 3DS runs pretty damn good on this. Unfortunately, we do need a little bit of tweaking when it comes to the emulator because we still have like the borders. And I must say, like in overall, I don't really like 3DS to play on a big screen. Because, yeah, basically the experience having two screens on one or mess around with it, I just really don't like it. But the overall construction of this device is quite basic, especially when it comes to the plastic, fantastic stuff. But that's basically what you're paying for, because this isn't very cheap, let's say mini PC, compared with the competition. I have seen, like I said, different kind of brands, and most of them are quite expensive in a certain, let's say, double price tag. But that doesn't spoil the fun with this, because when you're looking at the price you're paying for it and the overall performance, I think we cannot really complain over here. But also it's a quite interesting construction, and here you can see like everything is a very nice looking chrome plastic. But everything is made out of plastic. And that's basically what you're going to get. Another interesting thing, and to be honest, I don't know where this is for. You have like this connection here. And so far, it's been like covered up with the plastic. So don't know exactly where this is for. With this part over here, we can remove the protective plastic that divides basically the electronic part. I personally remove the piece of plastic, but it is not really necessary. The reason why, because you can see over here, that this Parker over here is having like a nut underneath, and then we do have over here the 3 Parkers that we can be removed and can be accessed very easily. So you don't need to remove the plastic. I just wanted to be clear about that. And another 2 Parkers that we need to remove over here, 3 of them. Okay, let's remove the last one together. The 4th one was basically like connected with the piece of plastic. And we can lift out the main board, and we can take a close look inside of the machine itself. So you can see like it is mostly plastic around the PCB or the main board itself. Another thing I find a little bit of a bummer is like if you want to change out the internal storage, you need to do a completely disassemble of the machine itself. Then we have like a spacer over here that is basically giving some little bit space between the main fan for the CPU. But that's it, like the construction itself of the fan is quite nice. And this is something like a kind of a cooling element that we have seen on GPUs back in the day. And so far I know it's going to be more than enough for using this thing like it is. When you're looking at the case design, it's a very simplistic case design, but you're just going to get what you're paying for. You're just paying not a lot of money for this particular mini PC. I know there are brands out there selling this for way more money, but you're actually going to get like a smaller form factor, or you're going to get a way better, let's say, housing or basically overall quality like product. I think when you're looking at the overall performance of the emulation, I think there we have like a very nice balance when it comes when the money you need to pay for it for making this thing like emulate a lot of stuff in combination with Bodosera. Again, let me know in the comments what do you think of the performance. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing. It will be great to see you in the next video.